AI, it's a new technology, and each time a new technology arrives, obviously people need to learn how to use it basically. Um, and I see that with AI, it's not different. People are just not using it the right way. Uh, and I've been fascinated by the adoption of it. Obviously, in the previous streams, I mentioned that AI, the most effective way to use AI is to basically through a voice conversational methodology, so to speak. Now, you see, because one of the problems right now is that people use AI as basically a vending machine or something like that. They put a prompt, which is basically an instruction, and they think there's a perfect way or the most effective or efficient way to kind of instruct AI to do what it needs to do, basically, which in reality is not the case. What AI does is basically collects data, process it, and then gives you a response, the most relevant information or whatever you want. The key word here is the relevancy, relevant. So when AI does that, it doesn't really care whatever your prompt or your instruction is the best one. It doesn't work like that. Oh, the only thing AI cares about is the data, how much data you provided, and more data you provide to an AI, and more it will be able to understand your context. Once it's understanding is actually understanding your context, then he's able, or well, it's able to provide you the best response or the best answer or the best whatever it is. It could be text, images, video, or if you integrate AI in a robot, it's gonna be a physical movement. But I'm not gonna get into those specificities because that's not the point that I wanted to make here. So AI, it's a pretty much is a very powerful tool, but there's a right way to use it, and I think right now with this kind of almost a science of prompting, science of people develop the whole science about what will be the perfect way to instruct AI to do what we want it to do. And it's just not the most effective way to use it. The most effective way to use it is to use it as a copilot, as a real copilot, as a partner, basically, that will help you understand your reality, yourself, obviously, and everything around you, the situations. If you need to generate something, well, we're going to generate it together. It's like an enhancement of yourself. Now, for that, the most effective way to do that, it's not through by typing text, but because you see, each time you type text, each time you enter text, you're trying to have it the most polished possible, or you wanted to make it right. When you have a conversation, in the same way I have a conversation right now, you see that nothing is perfect in my monologue right here with you. There's nothing perfect. There's some emotions that coming out. There's some words that has nothing to do with the context, but it gives AI even more information to understand what's going on and to give you the most relevant answer based on the context itself. And there's multiple ways of saying the same thing, and people say, well, that's basically maybe not a good way to prompt or instruct AI to do something. Well, actually, it's the best way to instruct AI, because this way AI will have the most fullest information or data, I will say, about the real context. And then it will guide you and show you what's really going on. But in this stream, I wanted to show you, kind of the adoption of AI right now, because I have some data, really interesting one, and I will just put myself aside here. There you go. So I put it in a graph, but that's kind of the data that I kind of collected about ChatGPT, the adoption of ChatGPT, and you see the blue line. Actually, in December 2023, it started as 100 million users, and by February 2025, it got up to 400 million users. Now, what is interesting, and I don't have the actually in yellow it's gonna be the estimate. What's really interesting is I wanted to see the kind of the evolution of how many users are using ChatGPT in a way that is the most effective one, which is basically through conversations with AI itself. And it turns out that from the initial deployment of the voice option on the mobile app in December 2023, through the advanced voice mode that actually happened on October 2024, that is kind of shallow. I'm not using advanced mode with ChatGPT because I think it's still very shallow. It doesn't go deep enough in terms of you know, kind of processing data and synthesizing information. So I'm still one of those people that use in starter mode, but since 2020 December 2023, it's kind of grew, and at this point, and again, that's only an estimation, approximation. At this point, it's about 5% of users that use ChatGPT, the voice functionality, to interact with AI itself, which is not a lot, which is very, very few. This means the whole thing means that we are at a very early stage of even learning what to do with AI, despite all the courses, despite all of those people that teaches how to have the best prompt, or how to structure a prompt, or how to make your prompt, or how to have the best instructions for the for AI. We are still on the early stages of understanding how to use AI itself, despite all the hype and everything that comes with it. Now, what's also interesting, and this is the data that comes from Demand Sage. What you see here is the proportion, based on countries, the proportion of users of ChatGPT. Now you see that obviously the USA is is where you see the most users. It's 48 millions, and you think 48 millions is a lot of users from United States, but if you divide it by the whole adult population of United States, it will give you something like 20%. 20% of adoption, it's not a lot. It's like internet in the 1990s, like at a very early stage. And kind of this is where the AI is right now. And surprisingly, like, countries, then we have India, Japan, Brazil, and also we have Colombia. That's kind of surprising because Colombia, we have about 12 million users of ChatGPT, which if you divide it by the entire adult population, I'm not taking it into account, kids, adult population of Colombia, you'll have something like 30%, which is kind of more than in the entire United States. If we look at the percentages of adoption, which is kind of significant. That's kind of surprising that Colombia, actually, there's a lot of people that use ChatGPT there. But as you can see, we're still at the very early stages of adoption itself of of AI. And I'm not surprised that, people still use it as a vending machine. Basically, you put a prompt, very general prompt, and you expect something amazing that will come out of it. And sometimes it does. I mean, sometimes, people very often people say, the responses that we have are very average, very general. Well, I mean, of course you will have very average, very general responses if you give very average, very general data to a AI model. Like, that's what's going to happen. If you want something more specific, more relevant, then you need to have like a conversation with an AI, a vocal conversation, and provide as much data as possible. And through a series of iteration back and forth, well, AI will kind of, you know, slowly but surely will basically understand more and more your context, so to speak, and from that create specific patterns. And from those patterns, you'll have very specific, relevant information, or content that you will be able to use. And that's the whole secret. I mean, there's nothing mysterious about it. And I've been using it in a vocal way. Um, the only thing that I will say is that, um, I was when I did the estimate, I was surprised. I thought that at least 20 to 30% of users will use ChatGPT in a vocal mode, as a conversation mode. And I was surprised to see that actually that's not even the case. Only 5% use them, use it in this way, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, it shows that we're still learning how to use it. We're still very far not out of the woods when it comes to usability, and when it comes to really understanding how to use it in the right way. Because one of the things that happens when you start to use AI in a vocal mode is that, you basically give it so much information about yourself and about your reality and about what you're going through, whether it's on a professional level or on a personal level, that it's kind of, will eventually provide you with point of views and perspectives and ideas that you haven't thought about it. And you will discover more about the reality and about yourself in a way you haven't been able to do it before. Interacting with it in a text format, it looks at at the first view it looks like very efficient. You give instruction and you receive something back, but in reality, you miss a lot of of this interaction. You miss a lot of this kind of providing the full picture to AI, so it will give you a much more, complete, view of things that you basically don't see. A much more objective approach on reality and, on everything is around you, basically. So that's something that is really, really exciting. On that, that's all what that I wanted to say today. So if you have any ideas, questions, comments, put them in the comment section. Again, subscribe, put some likes, and I will see you in the next one.